Bowl shattered first. Then the silence thick waiting, the kind that comes before a storm breaks or a bone snaps. Lorelei Ashford stood in a kitchen that smelled of lemon oil and cold soup, hands frozen midair, already knowing what came next. 5 years she'd learned the rhythm of violence. 5 years of reading weather patterns in a man's jaw, in the angle of his shoulders, the space between his words and his fists. Boston, 1875. City of brick and manners and women who disappeared in plain sight. She was 24. She looked 40. And somewhere between the shattered porcelain and the bruises blooming purple-black along her ribs, a decision crystallized. Leave or die here. 3,000 miles west, a stranger named Gideon Blackwood had written 7 words that would change everything. Hard life, honest heart. Must be brave. The ad promised nothing. No romance, no rescue, just mountains and work. And a man who didn't lie about what he was. Tonight, she would choose the unknown over the certain. Choose wilderness over this pristine, murderous cage. Choose a mail-order marriage to a mountain man. She'd never seen over one more morning, waking in this house of ghosts. The train west left in 4 hours. Nathaniel was already asleep. September 1875. Boston. The soup was cold. That was the problem. That was always the problem. Lorelei Ashford stood in the kitchen of her cousin's townhouse, hands trembling, ladle frozen mid-air. The bowl in front of Nathaniel Ashford sat untouched, steam no longer rising. It's cold, his voice, flat, emotionless, which meant danger. I can warm it. Just a moment. The bowl shattered against the wall behind her head. Lorelei didn't flinch. Not anymore. You learned not to flinch after the first year. The second year, you learned to predict. The third year, you learned to disappear inside yourself while your body stayed perfectly still. She'd been living with Nathaniel for 5 years. She'd learned everything there was to learn about survival. It's one job today, Lorelei. One simple task. Nathaniel stood, 6 feet tall, impeccably dressed, dark hair slicked back, the picture of a successful Boston merchant, 32 years old and already wealthy beyond measure. Everyone in Boston thought Nathaniel Ashford was a gentleman. Everyone was wrong. I apologize. I'll make fresh. His hand shot out, grabbed her wrist, squeezed until the bones ground together. Do you know what I did today? I closed a deal worth $10,000. $10,000. While you sat here doing what? Letting my dinner go cold? Nathaniel, please. Please what? Please forgive you? Please pretend you're not utterly useless? The blow came fast. Her head snapped to the side, the world tilted. Ears ringing, before she could recover. Another impact. Her ribs, Lorelei crumpled. The floor was cold, hardwood. She could smell the lemon oil the housemaid used to polish it. Strange. Things you noticed when pain made thinking impossible. She curled inward, protected herself, waited for it to end. Because it always ended, eventually. Later that night. Her room, Lorelei sat on the edge of her bed. Corset unlaced. Chemise pulled aside. The bruises were blooming, purple-black along her ribs. Yellowish remnants of last week's punishment along her upper arms. She was 24 years old. She looked 40. Her reflection in the small mirror showed hollow eyes. Cheekbones too sharp. Hair that had once been honey gold now dull and lifeless. This wasn't living. This was dying slowly. The newspaper lay on her dresser. The matrimonial news. She'd found it 3 weeks ago. Hidden it under her mattress. Read it by candlelight when Nathaniel went to his club. 7. Always page 7. The advertisements for mail-order brides. Most were from farmers, miners, simple men seeking simple wives. One advertisement had caught her eye. Had lodged itself in her brain like a splinter. Mountain man, 30, seeks bride of good character. Remote Colorado territory. Hard life, honest heart, must be strong, must be brave. Write Gideon Blackwood, Pinewood. Hard life, honest heart. She'd memorized every word. Lorelei pulled out the writing paper she'd stolen from Nathaniel's study. Pen, ink. Her hands shook as she began to write. Dear Mr. Blackwood, my name is Lorelei Ashford. I am 24 years old. I can cook. I can clean. I can mend. I can endure hardship. I am writing to inquire about your advertisement for a bride. She paused. What else could she say? That she was damaged? That she was running? That she would bring nothing but trouble to his doorstep? I am not afraid of hard work. I am not afraid of isolation. I am only afraid of staying where I am. If you will have me, I will come. Respectfully, Lorelei Ashford. She sealed the envelope before she could change her mind. Tomorrow. She would mail it tomorrow. Nathaniel went to his office. When the house was empty except for the servants who pretended not to notice her bruises. Tomorrow she would take the first step toward freedom, or toward something worse. But anything was better than this. 3 weeks later, the reply came hidden inside a delivery of fabric from the dressmaker. The shopkeeper, Mrs. Bradford, an older woman with kind eyes who'd helped Lorelei mail the original letter. "For you, dear," she'd whispered, tucked the envelope deep into the folds of blue cotton. Lorelei waited until nightfall, until Nathaniel was asleep, snoring, in his room down the hall. She lit a single candle. Hands trembling worse than before, the envelope was thick, rough paper, the handwriting heavy, masculine. Each letter carved deep into the page. "Miss Ashford, your letter reached me. I read it 3 times. I am not a gentleman. Life in the mountains is brutal. Winters are long, work is endless. You will be isolated, miles from the nearest town. You will have only me for company. And I am not good company, but you will be safe. No man will raise his hand to you. Not while I draw breath. You will have a roof, food, warm spec. If you come knowing that this is not romance. This is survival. We will marry, we will work together. We will endure together. The choice is yours." Gideon Blackwood. Lorelei pressed the letter to her chest. She had 2 weeks before Nathaniel's birthday party, the annual event where he played the benevolent guardian, showed off his charitable work, raised his glass to toast his poor orphaned cousin who he'd so generously taken in. 2 weeks to plan, to pack, to disappear. September 23rd, 1875. Nathaniel found the letter. Lorelei came downstairs for breakfast to find him sitting at the dining table, her carefully hidden stash spread before him. The matrimonial news, the letters from Gideon, the train schedule she'd copied from the railway office. "Everything going somewhere, cousin?" His voice was conversational, pleasant even. Terror flooded her system. Cold, paralyzing. "I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you were planning to abandon me after everything I've done for you?" He stood, walked toward her with measured steps, each footfall deliberate. "Predatory. Your father left you nothing." "Nothing. I took you in, fed you, clothed you, gave you a home. You hurt me." Words escaped before she could stop them. Nathaniel smiled. "I discipline you." "There's a difference." His hand closed around her throat. Her back hit the wall, hard. The portraits of dead Ashford ancestors rattled in their frames. "You belong to me, Lorelei. Not to some mountain savage. To me you will stay here, you will serve me, and if you ever try to leave again." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "The room's spinning. I will find you, and I will kill you," he released her. Lorelei collapsed, gasping, crying, defeated. Nathaniel straightened his cuffs, smoothed his hair. "Dinner at 7. Don't be late." He left. The door clicked shut behind him. Lorelei lay on the floor, tasted blood, felt bruises forming on her throat, and she knew, tonight. It had to be tonight, or she would die here. 11 p.m. The house was dark. Lorelei crept down the servants' stairs, clutching a small carpetbag inside. 2 dresses, a photograph of her parents, the letters from Gideon, and $40. Every penny she'd managed to steal over the past 5 years. The kitchen was empty. The back door unlocked. She slipped into the night. Boston streets were dangerous after dark. But staying was more dangerous. She walked quickly, head down, shawl pulled tight. The train station was 10 blocks away. 10 blocks between captivity and freedom. Her ribs ached with each step. Her throat burned. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop, because Nathaniel would wake eventually, would discover her gone, would come looking, and his rage would be apocalyptic. The station loomed ahead, gas lamps burning. The westbound train sat on the tracks, steam hissing. "Ticket, miss?" The attendant barely looked at her, bored, half asleep. "One way to Colorado territory. As far as the rails go, that'll be $32. She counted out the bills with shaking hands. The attendant handed her a ticket. "Train leaves in 20 minutes. Track 3. Lorelei boarded quickly, found a seat in the back, pressed herself against the window, watching, waiting. Any moment now, Nathaniel would burst through the station doors, would drag her off the train. The whistle blew, the train lurched forward. And Boston, with all its memories, all its pain, all its ghosts, began to slide away. Lorelei didn't cry. She was too numb for tears. She simply stared out the window and prayed that Gideon Blackwood was who he claimed to be. Prayed that Colorado would be different. Prayed that she would survive long enough to find out. 6 days later, somewhere in Nebraska, the train was a nightmare of motion and noise and unwashed bodies. Lorelei sat wedged between a farmer's wife and a traveling salesman. Neither spoke to her, which was fine. She had nothing to say. Her ribs still ached. Bruises on her throat had turned a sickly greenish yellow. She wore a high collar to hide them, kept her eyes down, spoke to no one. But the farmer's wife noticed anyway. Of course she did. "You running from something, child?" The question came on the 4th day, whispered while the salesman snored beside them. Lorelei said nothing. "I don't need details. But I know the look. I wore it myself once. The woman pressed something into Lorelai's hand. A small cloth bundle, dried beef. Ed. You look like you haven't eaten in days, thank you. Where you headed? Colorado? Meeting someone? My husband. The lie came easily now. The farmer's wife nodded, didn't press further. Just patted Lorelai's hand once, gently, and turned away, Kentness. A stranger. It nearly broke her. Day 7. The train ended at Denver, from there. Stagecoach, another 3 days of jarring motion. Rutted roads. Mountain passes that made her stomach drop. The driver was taciturn. The other passengers equally silent. Colorado territory was vast. Empty, beautiful in a harsh, unforgiving way. Nothing like Boston's tidy streets and brick buildings. Everything was sky and rock and endless horizon. Lorelai felt small, insignificant, a speck of dust in an infinite landscape, but she also felt, for the first time in years, free. September 30th, 1875. Pinewood, Colorado territory. The stagecoach rolled into town at dusk. Town was generous. Pinewood consisted of one main street, a general store, a saloon, a small church, maybe 24 buildings total. Mountains loomed in the distance. Pine forests pressed close on all sides. This was the edge of civilization. Beyond here, only wilderness. Lorelai climbed down from the coach, every muscle screaming. Her blue dress was filthy, dust-covered, wrinkled beyond redemption. Her hair hung in limp strands around her face. She looked like hell. She felt worse. Miss Ashford? The voice came from behind her, deep, rough. Like rocks grinding together, Lorelai turned and saw him. Gideon Blackwood, 6 feet 2 inches of solid muscle, shoulders broad enough to block out the setting sun, dark hair pulled back in a queue, beard thick and untrimmed, skin weathered from years outdoors, eyes the color of a winter sky, pale gray blue. He wore buckskin, heavy boots, a knife at his belt, rifle slung across his back. He looked like he'd walked straight out of a frontier legend. Dangerous, capable, utterly intimidating. Mr. Blackwood? Her voice came out smaller than intended. He nodded once, gaze traveling over her, assessing, clinical, like a rancher examining livestock. You're smaller than I expected. I'm stronger than I look. Something flickered in those pale eyes. Not quite a smile, but close. We'll see. He reached for her bag. Lorelai flinched, jerked backward, arms coming up to protect her face. The movement was instinctive, involuntary. Humiliating. Gideon froze, lowered his hands slowly. I was reaching for your bag. Not you, I know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. His voice was gentler now. Careful. Wagon's this way. Can you walk? Could she? Lorelai wasn't sure. Her legs felt like water. Her ribs burned with each breath. But she nodded anyway. Yes. Gideon picked up her bag, moved toward a wagon hitched to 2 sturdy horses. He didn't offer his arm, didn't try to help her up. Just climbed into the driver's seat and waited. Lorelai hauled herself up, biting back a gasp as her ribs protested. She settled onto the hard wooden seat, smoothed her skirts, tried to look composed. Gideon clicked his tongue. The horses moved forward. They rode in silence. The road, if you could call it that, was rough. A little more than 2 parallel ruts cutting through the forest. Each jolt sent fresh pain lancing through Lorelai's torso. She gripped the seat edge, knuckles white, teeth clenched. Gideon noticed. Of course he noticed. You hurt? No, don't lie to me. The command was quiet, but firm. Lorelai said nothing. They rode another 10 minutes. The town disappearing behind them. Trees closing in, the light fading fast. Then Gideon pulled the horses to a stop, turned to face her fully. When I helped you into the wagon, you winced. You're holding your left side. And you can't take a deep breath without your face going white. He leaned closer. Not threatening. Just observant. How long ago? I don't know what. How long ago did someone hurt you? The question hung in the air between them. Direct. Unflinching. Lorelai's throat closed. She wanted to lie, to deflect, to protect herself the way she'd learned to protect herself. But Gideon's eyes held hers, and she saw something there. Understanding, recognition. Weak, she whispered. Cousin. Before I left, your cousin, Nathaniel. I lived with him after my parents died, and he hit you. Not a question. A statement? Yes, more than once. Yes. Gideon's jaw clenched. A muscle jumped beneath the beard. Did he force himself on you? No, never that. He was angry. All the time, and I was convenient. The words spilled out now. Unstoppable. A meal burned. Laundry not folded correctly. A smile at the wrong moment. Anything. Set him off. She was crying now. Silent tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I should have told you in my letter, but I was afraid you wouldn't. That you'd. Gideon reached out slowly, telegraphing every movement, placed one calloused hand over both of hers. Listen to me. His voice was low. Steady. What's his name? Your cousin. Full name, Nathaniel Ashford. Why? Because if he ever comes here, if he ever tries to take you back, I need to know who I'm killing. Lorelai's breath caught. You don't mean that. I do. Gideon released her hands. Took up the reins again. I had a sister, Sarah. She was 18 when she married, 19 when she died. Her husband beat her. I didn't know until it was too late. His voice had gone flat. Empty. I buried her in Wyoming, rode away. Swore I'd never let another woman suffer if I could prevent it. He glanced at Lorelai. So no. Nathaniel Ashford doesn't get to hurt you anymore. Not while I'm breathing. He clicked his tongue. The horses started moving again. Lorelai sat frozen, heart pounding. This stranger, had just promised to kill for her. Should that terrify her? Maybe. But instead, all she felt was relief. Another hour, the last light fading. Stars beginning to emerge, the cabin appeared suddenly, tucked into a clearing, surrounded by towering pines. A stream gurgled nearby, mountains rose behind it. Moonlight painting their peaks silver. It was beautiful, rough, isolated, but beautiful. This is it, Gideon said. Climbing down, Lorelai stared at the cabin. Solid log construction. A stone chimney, a covered porch. Windows with actual glass. It's bigger than I expected. 2 bedrooms. Main room. Small loft. He pulled her bag from the wagon. Set it on the porch. You'll take the back bedroom. Door has a lock. Use it if you want. And you? Main room. I sleep by the fire. He opened the door, gestured for her to enter inside. The cabin was sparse but clean. A large fireplace dominated one wall. A sturdy table and chairs. Shelves lined with supplies. 2 doors leading to the bedrooms. Everything made of rough-hewn wood. Functional. Masculine. Smelling of pine and smoke. Kitchen area is there. Gideon pointed. Water comes from the stream. Wood for the fire is stacked outside. Privy is behind the cabin. He moved to the fireplace. Began building a fire with practiced efficiency. You'll need to learn the land, the work, the rhythms here. But not tonight. Tonight you rest. I can help. You can barely stand. The fire caught. Orange light filling the room. Gideon straightened. Looked at her properly for the first time. Really looked. I saw his gaze travel over her. The hollow cheeks, the too thin frame, the way she held her ribs, the fading bruise on her throat that her collar didn't quite hide. His expression didn't change. But his eyes went cold. When did you last eat, Hut? This morning. Some bread before that? I don't remember. Gideon moved to the shelves, pulled down bread, cheese, dried meat, assembled it on a plate with quick, efficient movements. Eat. He set the plate on the table. Lorelai sat, picked up a piece of cheese. Her hands shook so badly, she nearly dropped it. Slowly, Gideon said, "You'll make yourself sick." She forced herself to take small bites. Chew thoroughly. Her stomach cramped, unused to food, but gradually. The shaking eased. Gideon watched from across the room. Arms crossed, face unreadable. When she finished, he spoke again. "Your bedroom is through that door. There's a bed, a washstand, blankets. Lock works from the inside. Thank you. We'll talk tomorrow." About expectations, arrangements, the marriage. Yes. Lorelai stood, swayed slightly. "Mr. Blackwood. I are everything." Gideon? What? My everything. Gideon's.
He picked up her bag, carried it to the bedroom door. He picked up her bag.
Sleep. You're safe here. Lorelai wanted to believe him, desperately, achingly, to believe. But trust, real trust, wasn't built in a day. She took her bag, entered the small bedroom, closed the door, turned the lock with trembling fingers. The room was simple. A narrow bed, a washstand with a chipped basin, a small window looking out toward the mountains. It was perfect. Lorelai collapsed onto the bed, still fully clothed, too exhausted to undress, too sore to move. Outside, she could hear Gideon moving around, the fire crackling, the soft sounds of him settling for the night. For the first time in 5 years, she fell asleep without fear, without checking the lock 3 times, without lying awake wondering when the next blow would fall. She simply slept. And came with birdsong. Lorelai woke disoriented. Where? When? How? Then memory flooded back. Colorado, the cabin. Gideon's safety. She sat up slowly, every muscle protesting, stumbled to the washstand. Poured water from the pitcher, scrubbed her face. At her reflection in the small mirror, she looked awful. Bruises, shadows, tangled hair, but her eyes, for the first time in forever, her eyes looked alive. She changed into her other dress, the gray one, slightly less wrinkled, pinned up her hair as best she could. Opened the door. The main room was empty, fire-banked, but voices came from outside. Lorelai stepped onto the porch. Gideon stood by the woodpile, splitting logs with an axe, each swing precise, powerful, the axe biting deep into the wood with a satisfying thunk. He'd rolled up his sleeves, forearms corded with muscle, a sheen of sweat on his skin despite the cool morning air. He looked competent, strong, utterly in control of his environment. "Morning." His voice made her jump. "Good morning." Gideon set down the axe, wiped his hands on his pants. There's coffee on the stove, bread and butter. Help yourself. Thank you. She went back inside. Found the coffee pot, poured a cup. The coffee was strong, bitter, hot. She wrapped her hands around the cup, savoring the warmth. Gideon came in a few minutes later, poured his own coffee, sat across from her at the table. We need to talk. Lorelai's stomach clenched. Here it comes. The conditions, the expectations, the price. I brought you here to be my wife. That's still the plan. But, he paused, chose his words carefully. This isn't a love match. It's a practical arrangement. You need safety. I need help running this place. We're trading. Your work for my protection, I understand. I don't think you do. Gideon leaned forward. I'm not a gentleman. I don't know how to be. I live rough. I work hard. I expect the same from anyone sharing my home. I can work. I'm not afraid of. Let me finish. His tone wasn't harsh, just firm. You will cook, mend, help with the animals when I need it. Learn to shoot, learn to survive, because out here, if you can't take care of yourself. Lorelai nodded. In return, you get a roof, food, protection, and, this is important, he held her gaze, respect. Never, ever, raise my hand to you. Never shout, never demean, never touch you without permission. But we're to be married. Yes, so, eventually. You'll expect. She couldn't finish the sentence. Gideon's expression softened. Minutely, I expect nothing. If we become husband and wife in all ways, it will be because you want it, not because you owe me. Lorelai felt something crack inside her chest. Why? What? Why are you being so kind? Gideon looked away, stared into his coffee cup. Because someone should have been kind to Sarah, and no one was. Silence fell between them, heavy, loaded with things unspoken. Finally, Gideon stood. I'm going to check the traps. I'll be back by noon. Don't leave the clearing. There are bears, mountain lions, and wolves. Stay close to the cabin. He grabbed his rifle, headed for the door, paused. Lorelai? Yes? Welcome home. Then he was gone. Lorelai sat alone at the table, heart pounding. Home. Such a small word, such an impossible concept. Maybe, just maybe, it could be true. The first week passed in a blur of learning and adjustment. Gideon taught her the rhythms of mountain life. Wake at dawn, tend the fire, make coffee. Simple breakfast, then work, always work. Lorelai learned to split kindling. Not as well as Gideon, but enough to keep the fire going. She learned to fetch water from the stream, heavy buckets that made her arms shake. She learned to cook over an open flame, burning more meals than she successfully prepared. Gideon never complained, just ate whatever she put in front of him. Offered quiet suggestions, more salt, turn it sooner, watch the heat. He was patient. Stern but not cruel, distant but not cold, and he kept his word. Never touched her unnecessarily, never raised his voice, never made her feel afraid. It was disorienting. Lorelai had spent 5 years in constant survival mode, reading moods, anticipating violence, shrinking herself to avoid notice. Here she didn't need to do any of that. Gideon wanted her visible, working, present. Apologize? He said one morning when she dropped a pan. But you made a mistake. Mistakes happen. Pick it up. Move on. It was the most revolutionary thing anyone had ever said to her. Mistakes happen, not, you're worthless, not, you can't do anything right, just, mistakes happen. Lorelai felt something shift inside her, small, fragile, but real maybe. Maybe she could learn to live here, maybe she could learn to breathe again. 2 weeks after her arrival, the first snow came. Lorelai woke to find the world transformed, white, silent, pristine. She stood on the porch, wrapped in one of Gideon's extra coats, staring at the mountains, now crowned in fresh powder. Beautiful, isn't it? Gideon came up beside her, 2 mugs of coffee in his hands. Offered her one. I've never seen anything like it. Winter, here is, intense. We'll be snowed in for months, just us, the cabin. The animals? Sounds lonely. It is. He sipped his coffee. That's why I needed a wife. Not just for the work, but for company. Lorelai glanced at him, his profile stark against the white landscape. Strong, weathered, handsome in a rough, unpolished way. Are you lonely now, with me here? Gideon considered the question. Yes, one word. But it felt like more. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the snow fall. The world muffled and soft. Lorelai? Yes? In spring, when the preacher comes through. We'll need to marry. Officially, her heart skipped. Thought we were already, on paper, in intent. But not legally. I need you to be protected. If something happened to me, you'd own this land. The cabin. Everything. Nothing's going to happen to you. Maybe not. But I'm careful. Always prepared? He turned to face her fully. I know it's not romantic. Not what you probably dreamed of. But it's perfect. The words escaped before she could stop them. Gideon's eyebrows rose. Perfect? You're offering me safety, respect, A home. It's more than I ever hoped for. Something flickered in his eyes. Maybe pleasure. Then, when spring comes, we'll marry. Yes. Good. He finished his coffee. Set the mug down. Now come on. I need to teach you how to shoot. Don't care that you're new here. Lorelai laughed. Actually laughed. The sound felt foreign in her throat. Rusty. Unpracticed, but real. She followed Gideon into the clearing. Into her new life. Into whatever came next. For the first time since her parents died. Lorelai Ashford felt something dangerous bloom in her chest. Hope. Number 1875. The first real snow 3 feet overnight. The world buried, silent. White stretching to infinity. Lorelai woke to find the cabin dark. No light through the window. Just white. Pressed against the glass like a living thing. She stumbled into the main room, still in her nightdress. Hair loose around her shoulders. Gideon was already up. Dressed. Building up the fire. We're snowed in. His voice was matter-of-fact. For how long? Could be days. Could be weeks. Hard to say. I didn't look concerned. Just. Prepared. I stocked supplies in September. We won't starve. But we will be. Together. Constantly, the implication hung there. No escape, no privacy. No buffer, just the two of them. And winter. I'll try not to be. Difficult. Gideon glanced at her. Something almost like amusement in those pale eyes. You? Difficult? You apologize for breathing. I do not. You apologized to the stove yesterday when you burned your hand on it. Lorelai felt her cheeks heat. That's different. It's not. He poured coffee on a cup. Listen. We're going to be living on top of each other for months. You're allowed to take up space. Make noise. Exist, I know that, do you? The question was gentle, but pointed. Lorelai wrapped her hands around the cup, stared into the black liquid. Nathaniel liked things. Quiet, I'm not Nathaniel, I know. Do you? She looked up, met his gaze. I'm trying to believe that, truly. But 5 years of training doesn't disappear overnight. Gideon nodded slowly. Fair enough. Then, here's a new rule. In this cabin, you don't have to be quiet, or small, or apologetic. You can be loud, messy. Wrong, and I won't hurt you for it. You make it sound simple. It is simple, easy. But simple. He moved to the shelves. Started pulling down supplies for breakfast. Now, let me teach you something useful. How to make sourdough. The days blurred together. White outside, warm inside. The rhythm of survival. Gideon taught her everything. How to keep sourdough starter alive. How to render fat for candles. How to tan hides. Preserve meat. Make soap from lye and bacon grease. Skills Lorelai had never imagined needing. Skills that made her feel capable. You're a quick learner, Gideon said one afternoon. They were working side by side. Lorelai mending one of his shirts. Gideon carving a new axe handle. I had good motivation. Fear? Curiosity. She bit off a thread. Examined her work. In Boston I was. Ornamental. A decoration. Something to display at parties. Here I'm. Useful. You were always useful. Your cousin was just too stupid to see it. The casual brutality of the statement made her smile. You don't mince words. No point. Life's too short. He tested the axe handle. Nodded approval. Besides, I've never understood people who wrap cruelty in pretty language. If you're going to be mean, own it. If you're going to be kind, own that too. And which are you? Gideon looked at her. Really looked. I'm honest. Sometimes, that's kind. Sometimes it's not. I think you're kinder than you admit. Maybe, he went back to his carving, or maybe I just stand waste. And letting you believe you're worthless would be a waste. Lorelai felt something warm unfurl in her chest. Not love. Not yet, but recognition. This man saw her. Actually saw her. And he didn't look away. 8 November. A clear night. The moon hung full and bright over the mountains, turning the snow to silver. The temperature had dropped, bitter cold. But beautiful. Lorelai stood on the porch, wrapped in blankets. Breath misting. You'll freeze out here. Gideon appeared beside her. Also bundled. Also drawn to the impossible beauty of the night. I couldn't sleep. Bad dreams? No dreams at all. Just restless. They stood in silence, watching the stars. So many stars. More than Lorelai had ever seen in Boston. I used to dream of escaping, she said quietly. Of running away. Finding somewhere safe. This? Disappointed? No. Overwhelmed, she pulled the blanket tighter. It's so vast. Empty. In Boston everything was contained. Controlled. Here it's wild. Does that scare you? It should, but it doesn't. Gideon smiled. Rare. Genuine. Good. Fear keeps you alive out here. But so does respect. The land doesn't care about your plans, your wishes. It just is. Like you. The words slipped out. Gideon turned to her. Eyebrows raised. Like me? You are. No apologies. No pretense. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. He laughed. Low. Rusty. Like he didn't do it often. Fair enough. They fell back into silence. Comfortable now. Easy. Lorelai? Yes? Thank you. For what? For being here. For Not running when you saw how rough everything is. Where would I run? The snow's 3 feet deep. That's not what I mean. He turned to face her fully. I know I'm not easy. I know this life is hard. I know you probably imagined something different when you answered my advertisement. I imagined survival. You've given me that. And more? More? Peace. The word hung between them. Heavy. Significant. Gideon reached out. Slowly. Carefully. Placed one hand on her shoulder. You're safe here. I meant that. I'll always mean that, I know. And the miracle was. She did know, she believed him. December arrived with more snow and bone-deep cold. Gideon started teaching Lorelei to shoot. A rifle is a tool, he explained. Setting up glass bottles on fence posts. Nothing magical about it. Just physics. I've never even held a gun. You have now. He positioned the rifle in her hands. Adjusted her stance, stock against your shoulder, tight, or the recoil will knock you flat. His hands guided hers. Professional. Impersonal. But Lorelei felt the warmth through her coat, eye along the barrel. See that front sight? Line it up with the bottle. I see it. Now breathe. Slow, steady. On the exhale. Squeeze the trigger. Don't jerk. Squeeze. Lorelei did as instructed. The rifle kicked hard. Her shoulder screamed. The bottle exploded in a shower of glass. I hit it, you did. Gideon's voice held. Pride again. They practiced until her shoulder was one giant bruise. Until she could hit 5 bottles out of 6. Until her hands knew the weight of the weapon. Balance. Why are you teaching me this? She asked, rubbing her aching shoulder. Because I won't always be here to protect you. And because you should never depend on anyone for your survival. Not even me. But we're partners, we are. But partnership doesn't mean dependency. It means 2 strong people standing together. Not one person holding up the other. Lorelei nodded slowly. Nathaniel wanted me weak. Dependent? I know. You want me strong. I need you strong. There's a difference. He started collecting the broken glass. Out here. You can't take care of yourself. You die. I like you alive, so. Learn such a strange way to express care. But somehow, it worked. The cabin ran out of flour. We need to go to town, Gideon announced over breakfast. In this snow, it's clearing. And we need supplies. Plus, there's someone I want you to meet. They rode into Pinewood 2 days later. On horseback, wagon couldn't navigate the drifted roads. Lorelei clung to Gideon's back, arms around his waist. Feeling the solid warmth of him through layers of wool and leather, it should have been terrifying. This closeness, instead it felt safe. Pinewood looked different in winter. Smaller, harsher, but also welcoming. Smoke rose from chimneys. Horses stood patient at hitching posts. People moved with purpose. Bundled against the cold, Gideon led her to the general store. A woman stood behind the counter, 60-ish. Iron gray hair pulled into a severe bun. Sharp eyes that missed nothing, Gideon Blackwood. About time you showed your face, Mrs. Bradford. Don't you Mrs. Bradford me? Been hiding this girl in your cabin for 2 months without introducing her proper. The woman's gaze swung to Lorelei, assessing, measuring, seeing. Everything. Lorelei resisted the urge to fidget. So you're the mail-order bride? Yes, ma'am. Lorelei Ashford. Boston family? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Bradford nodded. Came around the counter. Circled Lorelei like a general inspecting troops. You're too thin. He feeding you? I feed her. Gideon protested. She just needed feeding. Mrs. Bradford's eyes narrowed. Ended on the fading bruise still visible on Lorelei's throat. Someone hurt you. Before you came here. Not a question. Lorelei touched her throat instinctively. Yes. Good thing you left then. Mrs. Bradford patted her hand. Brisk. Businesslike. Gideon's rough as tree bark, but he's decent. Probably the most decent man in the territory. You could do worse, I know. Do you? The same question Gideon had asked. But different somehow, I'm learning to. Mrs. Bradford smiled. Fierce, approving, good girl, you need. They spent an hour in the store, stocking up on supplies, flour, sugar, salt, coffee, ammunition. Mrs. Bradford wrapped everything carefully. Added extra items without charging. For the hard months, she said. When Gideon protested, January and February are brutal. Take the extra cornmeal, as they prepared to leave. Mrs. Bradford pulled Lorelei aside. Listen, I don't know what you ran from, don't need to know, but I recognize the look. I wore it myself once. Long time ago. What happened? I left. She came west. Met Mr. Bradford. Who was? Everything my first husband wasn't. She squeezed Lorelei's hand. Point is, you're not broken. You're rebuilding. There's a difference. Thank you. No thanks needed. Just be happy. That's revenge enough. Christmas came quietly. No decorations. No tree. No gifts. But Gideon shot a deer, cooked it properly, made the cabin smell like something other than smoke and leather. Merry Christmas, he said. Carving thick slices of venison. Merry Christmas. They ate in comfortable silence, the fire crackling. Snow falling softly outside. After dinner, Gideon disappeared into his room. Came back with something wrapped in cloth. "I made this. For you," he set it on the table. Awkward, almost shy. Lorelai unwrapped it carefully. A wooden box, small, beautifully carved, the lid inlaid with her initials, L.A. Gideon. "It's beautiful. It's just a box. It's not just anything." She traced the letters with one finger. "No one's ever something for me before. Well, now someone has." He was blushing. Actually blushing. Lorelai felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't have anything for you. Don't need anything." "That's not." "You should have something," she thought frantically. What did she have? Could she give then? An idea. "Wait here." She ran to her room. Came back with the photograph, the only one she owned, her parents. Young, smiling. Taken before everything went wrong. "This is my mother and father. It's the only picture I have of them. I want you to have it, Lorelai." "I can't. You told me about Sarah, about how you couldn't save her. But you saved me. So, I want you to have this as proof that sometimes people do get saved." Gideon took the photograph, hands trembling slightly. "Thank you," 2 words. But they sounded like more. They sat by the fire until late, not talking, just being together. And Lorelai realized. This was happiness, small, quiet, ordinary, but real. January 1876, the coldest month. The temperature dropped so low the spit froze before it hit the ground. The stream iced over. The horses huddled in the barn. Even the wolves stayed silent. Lorelai and Gideon lived pressed close together. Rationing warmth, rationing movement. "I've never been this cold," Lorelai said. Teeth chattering despite 3 blankets and the roaring fire. "January is always worst. February is long. But January is mean." He added more wood to the fire, banking it high. "Come here." "What?" "Freezing. I can hear your teeth from across the room." "Come here." Lorelai hesitated. Gideon sighed. "I'm not propositioning you. I'm being practical. Body heat is body heat." Still she didn't move. Gideon's expression softened. "Lorelai, look at me." She did. "I will never, ever take advantage. You're cold. I'm warm. That's all this is." Slowly, so slowly. Lorelai crossed the room. Gideon opened his arms. She stepped into them and, oh warmth, blessed, immediate, seeping through layers of clothing, melting the ice in her bones. Gideon wrapped his arms around her. Carefully. Loosely enough that she could pull away. "Better?" Yes, she felt his chin rest on top of her head. "We'll stay like this until the fire builds up. Then you can go back to your blanket fortress if you want, okay?" But Lorelai didn't want to move. Didn't want this moment to end. Because this
felt like home.
not the cabin, not the location, this being held without fear, without expectation, just comfort, safety. "Gideon, thank for what? For this, for being patient." His arms tightened. "Just slightly. You're worth the wait." January, a wolf appeared. Lorelai saw it from the window. Gray, massive, limping, blood on its front paw. "Gideon, there's something." He was beside her in seconds. Rifle in hand, looked out, went still, injured, probably caught in a trap. Chewed its own foot off to escape. "That's horrible. That's survival." He moved toward the door. "What are you doing?" "Putting it down. It won't survive the winter like that." "Wait." Lorelai grabbed his arm. "Can't we help it? It's a wolf. Wild. Let us near it, but we can try, right?" Gideon looked at her. "Really looked. You want to save a wolf?" "I want to try," he sighed. "This is a terrible idea, but you'll do it." "I'll try. If it attacks, I'm shooting it fair." They spent 3 days coaxing the wolf closer, leaving scraps of meat, speaking softly, moving slowly. On the 4th day, the wolf let Gideon approach, barely, teeth bared, growling low. But didn't run. "Easy. Easy now." Gideon's voice was soft, hypnotic. He examined the paw, cleaned the wound, wrapped it in cloth. The wolf watched, wary, but allowing. "You're either brave or stupid," Gideon told it. "Can't decide which." The wolf limped away when he finished. But the next morning, it was back. And after that, "You've adopted a wolf," Gideon said, watching the animal devour leftover venison. "We adopted a wolf. I'm not taking credit for this insanity." But Lorelai saw him smile, saw him leave extra food out, saw him softening, just a little, sown, just enough. Early February, the wolf, now named Ghost because of his pale coat, was healing. And Gideon taught Lorelai to track. "Look here. See these marks?" He pointed to indentations in the snow. "Deer, 3 of them. Passed through maybe 6 hours ago." "How can you tell?" "The edges are soft. Fresh tracks have sharp edges." "And see how deep?" "These are does, light. Maybe 90 pounds each." Lorelai studied the tracks, trying to see what he saw. "Here. Rabbit?" She pointed excitedly. Gideon crouched beside her. "Good eye. What else can you tell me?" "It was moving fast." "How do you know?" "The tracks are far apart." "Something. See there? Fox tracks. Following. Did the fox catch it?" No. Rabbit went into the brambles. See how the tracks vanish? Rat. Too thick for the fox to follow. The rabbit was smart. The rabbit wanted to live. That makes you smart real fast, they continued walking. Gideon pointing out signs Lorelei would have missed. Teaching her to read the forest like a book. Are you teaching me this? She asked. Because tracking is survival. If you're lost, you can follow tracks to water, to shelter, to civilization. You're always preparing for disaster. I'm always preparing for reality. He stopped. Turned to face her, Lorelei. I want you to be able to survive. With or without me. Don't say that. Why not? Because it sounds like you're planning to leave. I'm not. But life doesn't care about plans. If something happened to me, you need to be able to endure. Lorelei shook her head. Nothing's going to happen to you. You don't know that. I do. Because I need you here. The words came out before she could stop them. Gideon's eyes widened. You need me? Yes. Is that bad? No, it's unexpected. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I need you too. More than I thought I would. Really? Really? They stood there, in the snow. The forest silent around them. Something shifting between them. Something inevitable. February. Mrs. Bradford came to the cabin on horseback, alone. Face grim Gideon. Lorelei. We need to talk. They brought her inside. Gave her coffee. Waited. There was a man in town last week. Asking questions. Lorelei's blood ran cold. Kind of questions? About a young woman. From Boston. Brown hair, blue eyes. About 24. No. The word escaped as a whisper. He showed people a photograph. Said she was his ward. That she ran away. That he was looking to bring her home. Said Laura's eyes, squeezed tight. What did people tell him? Nothing. I made sure of it. But Gideon, he's still in town. Staying at the boarding house. Waiting. Did he give a name? Mrs. Bradford pulled out a card. Nathaniel Ashford, attorney at law, Boston, Massachusetts. Lorelei thought she might vomit. He found me. He found the territory. He hasn't found you. Gideon stood. Began pacing. How long has he been there? Week. Maybe more, and he's just waiting? Seems like. He questioned the postmaster, a stagecoach driver. Anyone who might have seen a woman arriving alone? What do we do? Lorelei's voice shook. Gideon stopped pacing. Looked at her. We get married. Today? What? If you're my legal wife, he has no claim. No right to take you anywhere, but preacher isn't here? No. But Mrs. Bradford is, and she's witnessed common law marriages before. Mrs. Bradford nodded. It's binding in the territory. Not perfect, but legal enough. This isn't how I wanted. Lorelei felt tears threaten. This isn't romance. This isn't. Right. Gideon knelt in front of her. Took both her hands. Listen to me. I don't care about romance. I care about keeping you safe. And if that means marrying you in a cabin with no witnesses except Mrs. Bradford and a half-tame wolf, then that's what we do. But you deserve better, so do you. But we work with what we have. He squeezed her hands. Do you want to stay here? With me? Yes. Do you want Nathaniel to take you back? No. Never. Then marry me. Right now. Make it impossible for him to claim you. Lorelei looked into his eyes. Those pale, honest eyes. Okay. Yes. I'll marry you. Mrs. Bradford stood. Then let's make this official. They spoke vows in front of the fireplace. No ring, no flowers, no fancy clothes. Promises. I, Gideon Blackwood, take you, Lorelei Ashford, as my lawful wife, to protect, to provide for, to stand beside. For as long as we both draw breath. His voice was steady. Sure, Lorelei's shook. I, Lorelei Ashford, take you, Gideon Blackwood, as my lawful husband. 2. To honor, to support, to trust. For as long as we both draw breath. Mrs. Bradford nodded. Then by the power vested in me by common sense and frontier necessity, I pronounce you husband and wife. She handed them a paper. It witnessed it, signed it. Get it to the territorial office in spring. Make it official. Gideon took the paper. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. That man is still in town, and he doesn't strike me as the giving up type. He's not. Lorelei felt numb. Old despite the fire, he'll come here, eventually. And he'll find 2 married people living on legal land. Gideon pulled her close. And he'll have no grounds, no claim. No power. You don't know Nathaniel. He doesn't need legal grounds. He just takes what is wants. Then he'll learn differently. Gideon's voice had gone hard. What's dangerous? No one takes what's mine, and you're mine now. Legally, officially, mine. The possessiveness should have scared her. Instead, it felt like it protection. 8 February. 3 weeks after Mrs. Bradford's warning, Gideon went to town for supplies. Stay inside. Keep the rifle close. I'll be back by dark. Be careful. He kissed her forehead. Quick. Chaste. Always am. Then he was gone. Lorelei spent the day cleaning, cooking, trying not to think about Nathaniel. About what might happen mid-afternoon. A knock at the door. Her heart stopped. Gideon? No answer. Another knock. Harder. Lorelei grabbed the rifle. Hands shaking. Who is it? Delivery. From town. Voice was unfamiliar. Male. Smooth. Leave it on the porch. Need a signature. Something felt wrong. Lorelei moved to the window. Peered out. A man stood on the porch. Tall. Well-dressed. Dark hair slicked back. Nathaniel. Terror flooded her system. Go away. Now, Lorelei. Is that any way to greet your family? You're not my family. Cared for you. And this is how you repay me? Running away. Marrying some. Savage. I'm married. Legally, you have no claim. Nathaniel's laugh was cold. That frontier nonsense isn't binding in real courts. You're coming home. Today? No, I'm not asking. He tried the door. Locked, started to shoulder it. Lorelei raised the rifle. Aimed through the window. One more step and I shoot. Nathaniel paused. You won't. Try me. He stared at her. Calculating. You've changed. I've learned. Learned what? To be defiant? That's going to earn you such a punishment when we get home. I'm not going anywhere with you. Lorelei's hands steadied. The rifle feeling. Right, in fact. You're leaving, now, or what? Or I put a bullet through your leg. And let you bleed in the snow until Gideon gets back. And then. He'll finish what I started, for the first time. Nathaniel looked. Uncertain. You've lost your mind. No. I've found it. The sound of hoofbeats. Gideon. Hard. Rifle already in hand. He dismounted in one fluid motion. Strode toward Nathaniel with lethal intent. You must be the cousin, and you must be the mountain man. How quaint. Gideon didn't slow. Didn't hesitate. Grabbed Nathaniel by the collar. Slammed him against the cabin wall. Listen very carefully. She's mine. Legally. Territorially. By every law that matters out here. You have no claim, no right, no power. I'll take her to court. Boston court. Your backwoods marriage means nothing. Then you'll have to go through me first. Gideon's voice dropped. Deadly quiet, and I promise you. You won't, he released Nathaniel. Stepped back. Get on your horse. Ride back to town. Take the next stage east. Never, ever.
Come back. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening.
I'm informing. Gideon raised his rifle. Casual. Confident. I'm a patient man. But my patience has limits. You've reached them. Nathaniel looked between them. Lorelei at the window. Rifle trained. Gideon on the porch. Equally armed. This isn't over. It is. You just don't know it yet. Nathaniel mounted his horse. Looked at Lorelei one last time. You'll regret this. I already regret knowing you. This is called freedom. He rode away. Gideon watched until he disappeared, then lowered his rifle. Turned to Lorelei. You okay? She nodded. Throat too tight to speak. Gideon came inside. Took the rifle from her trembling hands. You did. Good. Held him off. Stayed strong. I was terrified. Being scared and being weak aren't the same thing. He pulled her into his arms. You're safe. He's gone. What if he comes back? He won't. How do you know? Because I'm going to town tomorrow. Talking to the sheriff, making sure there's a legal record of your marriage. And of Nathaniel's harassment. If he shows his face again. He'll be arrested. Lorelei pressed her face into Gideon's chest. I was so afraid he'd take me. No one takes you anywhere. Not while I'm alive. They stood there, holding each other, until the shaking stopped, until Lorelei could breathe again, until the world felt safe. That night, Lorelei knocked on Gideon's door. Come in. He was sitting on his bed, sharpening his knife. Looked up surprised. Everything all right? I don't want to sleep alone tonight. The words came out rushed. Nervous. Gideon set down the knife. Okay, just sleep. Nothing else I know. He moved to one side of the pulled back the covers. There's room. Lorelei climbed in. Stiff. Awkward. They lay side by side, not touching. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For standing up for me, for being you. Gideon turned his head. Looked at her in the dim light. Lorelei. I meant everything I said. You're mine to protect now. I know. Silence fell. Then Lorelei reached out, found his hand. Gideon? Yeah? I think I'm starting to feel. Then something? More than gratitude. Friendship. His hand tightened on hers. That's unexpected. Bad and expect. No. Good. Just didn't think you'd. So soon, neither did I. They lay there. Hands clasped, hearts beating. Have to rush, Gideon said softly. I know. But when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here. I know that too. Lorelei shifted closer. Rest her head on his shoulder. Can we just stay like this? As long as you want. So they did. Falling asleep tangled together. Safe, warm, home, and somewhere in the night. Lorelei realized she was falling in love with her husband. Her strange, gruff, gentle, mountain man husband. And it was. Perfect. The days that followed were different. Gideon taught Lorelei to fight. Not skilled. Just effective. Forget what you've heard about fair fighting. There's no fair in survival. He positioned her hands. If someone grabs you, you go for the eyes, the throat, the groin. Whatever causes the most damage fastest. I don't know if I can. You can. When your life depends on it, you can do anything, they practiced. Over and over, Gideon playing the attacker, Lorelei defending. At first she was gentle, hesitant, harder. You mean it. She pushed harder. Harder, she slammed her knee up into his groin. Pulled the blow at the last second, but close. Gideon grinned. There, that's the instinct. Hold on to that, but more than the fighting lessons, and the continued survival training, there was closeness. They slept in the same bed now. Always clothed, always careful. But together, Lorelei woke each morning to find Gideon watching her. Not threatening, not demanding, just present. Good morning, he'd say. Good morning. And they'd lie there, hands clasped, hearts settling into a rhythm. This wasn't the arrangement they'd started with. This was something more, something neither of them had expected, something that felt like home. March 1876. The thaw, snow melting, dripping from eaves, the stream running again, ice breaking into chunks, floating downstream like memories. Spring was coming, and with it, change. Lorelei woke in Gideon's bed. Had been waking there for 2 weeks now, always clothed, always careful. But, together, she turned, found him watching her. How long have you been awake? A while? Watching me sleep? Making sure you're real. The words were soft. Vulnerable. Lorelei reached out, touched his face. The beard rough under her palm. I'm real. Good. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. I have to go to town today. Make sure the marriage certificate got filed properly. Check if Nathaniel left. Lorelei's stomach clenched. What if he didn't? Then we deal with it. Gideon sat up, started dressing. Come with me. You shouldn't be alone. Not yet? Okay. They rode into Pinewood together. The road muddy. Horses picking their way carefully. Spring was messy. Beautiful but messy. The town was busier than Lorelei had ever seen it. People emerging from winter hibernation, hungry for community, for news, for connection. Sheriff Coleman stood outside his office, older, weathered, but sharp-eyed. Gideon. Mrs. Blackwood, the name still startled her. Sheriff, got your paperwork. All filed. Eagle as anything out here gets. Good. Also got word. That Boston fellow, Nathaniel Ashford, he left on yesterday's stage. Relief flooded through Lorelei. He's gone? Took off after some conversation with a few local boys. It seems they made it clear he wasn't welcome. The sheriff's eyes glinted. Frontier hospitality. Wonderful thing. Gideon shook his hand. Thank you. No thanks needed. And she's one of ours now. Lorelei felt tears prick her eyes. One of ours. She had a community. People who stood up for her, protected her, after so many years of isolation, of fear. This felt like belonging. They stopped at Mrs. Bradford's store. The older woman took one look at them and smiled. Well now, don't you two look different? Different how? Happy. Mrs. Bradford came around the counter, hugged Lorelei. That man's gone. Good riddance. Now you can actually live. I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done. Thank me by being happy, by building a good life. That's thanks enough. She pulled back, studied Lorelei's face. You're filling out color in your cheeks. Gideon's taking care of you. We take care of each other. Mrs. Bradford loaded them up with supplies. Extras tucked in for the celebration. Celebration? Spring, life, love. Take your pick. As they prepared to leave, Mrs. Bradford pulled Lorelei aside. Listen, that man, Nathaniel, he's gone, but the memory isn't. Don't let it poison what you're building. I'm trying. Try harder. You've got a good man, a good life. Don't waste it looking over your shoulder. How do I stop? One day at a time, one choice at a time. Choose forward, not backward. Simple advice, but profound. April arrived with wildflowers. The meadow near the cabin exploded in color. Purple, yellow, white, red. Lorelei walked through them, barefoot, dress hiked up, hair loose, feeling free. Gideon watched from the porch, coffee in hand. Expression soft. You look like a painting, she laughed. Spun in a circle. Arms outstretched. I feel alive. You are alive. She ran back to him, breathless, glowing. Come walk with me. I have work. It can wait. Please? Gideon set down his coffee. Okay. They walked through the meadow together, hands brushing, quite holding. But close. I used to dream about this, Lorelei said. When I was trapped in Boston, I'd imagine open spaces, fresh air, freedom. And now you have it. Now I have more than that. She stopped, turned to face him. I have you. Gideon's breath caught Lorelei. I love you. The words tumbled out, terrifying, exhilarating. I know it's probably too soon. I know we married for practical reasons. But I can't help it. I love you. Gideon stared at her. Frozen then. Movement. His hands cupped her face. Gentle, reverent. I love you too. You do? Have for weeks. Maybe longer. I just didn't want to pressure you. Kiss me, are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, so she did. Soft at first. Testing. Then deeper. Desperate. Years of loneliness pouring into one moment. when they broke apart, both breathing hard. Lorelai was crying. Why are you crying? Because I'm happy. Because I never thought, I never dreamed. Gideon wiped her tears with his thumbs. Dream bigger. That night, they made love for the first time, slow, careful, Gideon asking permission at every step. Is this okay? Yes. Tell me if you want to stop. I won't want to stop. It was awkward, nerve-wracking, beautiful. Nothing like the violence Lorelai had feared. Everything like the tenderness she'd hoped for. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty, spent, content. You okay? Gideon murmured. More than okay. She traced patterns on his chest. I never knew it could be like that. Like what? Safe and passionate. At the same time, Gideon pulled her closer. That's what it should always be. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other. No barriers, no fear. Just, Love May brought the preacher, a circuit rider who passed through once a season, performing marriages, baptisms. Last rites, we're already married, Lorelai said. When Gideon suggested it, legally, but not in the church. If you want that, do you? Shrugged, uncomfortable. You to have everything you dreamed of. Even if the dream came late, Lorelai kissed him. Sweet and lingering. I don't need a church wedding. I already have everything I dreamed of, you sure? Positive. But Gideon arranged it anyway. Small ceremony. Just them. Mrs. Bradford. The sheriff, a handful of neighbors in the little wooden church. Sunlight streaming through windows. Wildflowers on the altar. Lorelai wore a new dress. Simple blue cotton, but clean pretty. Gideon wore his best shirt. Hair trimmed. Beard neat. He looked nervous. You don't have to be scared, Lorelai whispered. I'm not scared. I'm overwhelmed by what? By how much I love you, how much I want everything. For you, the preacher cleared his throat. Shall we begin? They spoke vows. Ill ones this time. Chosen. Meant I, Gideon Blackwood. Take you, Lorelai, as my wife, my partner, my home. I promise to love you, protect you, stand beside you. In this life and whatever comes after, his voice steady. Sure, Lorelai's shook. I, Lorelai Blackwood. Take you, Gideon. As my husband, my refuge, my heart. I promise to love you, trust you, build a life with you. For all my days, the preacher smiled. Then by the power vested in me by God and the territory of Colorado, I pronounce you husband and wife. At Gideon, you may kiss your bride. Gideon did thoroughly. The small congregation cheered, and Lorelai thought. This is what happiness feels like. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of joy. June was work, planting, building, preparing for the next winter. Lorelai learned to plant vegetables. 10 chickens. Milk the cow Gideon bought from a neighbor. Her hands grew rough, calloused, strong, her body filled out, muscles replacing the gauntness. She looked healthy, alive. Morning. She woke feeling strange, nauseous. Dizzy? You sick? Gideon asked. Concerned, I don't know. My stomach is off. He felt her forehead. No fever, maybe something. I ate, but the nausea continued. Morning after morning until realization dawned. Gideon. He looked up from his breakfast. I think I might be expecting. His fork clattered to the plate. Expecting a baby. I think I'm pregnant. For a long moment, silence. Then again, Gideon was around the table, pulling her into his arms. You're sure? Completely. But all the signs. When? I don't know. Maybe January? February? He held her at arm's length, studying her face. How do you feel about it? Terrified. Excited. Both. Me too. He pulled her close again. We're having a baby. We are. I'm going to be a father. You're going to be a wonderful father. Gideon's eyes were wet. I hope so. Everything my father wasn't. Everything Sarah's husband wasn't. You already are. July. Mrs. Bradford confirmed the pregnancy. 4 months as long. Should arrive late January. Early February. She patted Lorelai's hand. You're healthy. Strong. You'll do fine. But Lorelai was childbirth killed women. Regularly. Out here. With no real doctors. What if something went wrong? Gideon sensed her fear. Hey. Look at me, she did. You're going to be fine. We're going to do this together. And our baby is going to be loved. Protected. Safe. You can't promise that. I can promise to do everything in my power to make it true. Placed his hand on her growing belly. This baby is already the luckiest child alive. Because they have you as a mother. I don't know how to be a mother. You'll learn. Like you learned everything else. One step at a time. After August brought a letter, forwarded through Mrs. Bradford. From Boston, Lorelai's hands shook as she opened it. Dear Miss Ashford, this is to inform you that Nathaniel Ashford passed away on July 3, 1876. Cause of death, pneumonia. His estate has been settled. As his only living relative, you are entitled to his assets. Please contact the law firm of. Lorelai stopped reading. Nathaniel was dead. She should feel something. Relief? Grief? Satisfaction? Instead, numbness. What is it? Gideon took the letter. Read quickly. He's gone. Yes, how do you feel? I don't know. Empty? Is that wrong? You don't owe him grief. Not after what he did. Gideon tossed the letter into the fire. You want his money? No. Let it go to the state. Anything from him. You sure? That money could help. With the baby. I'm sure. I'm sure. She placed her hand over his on her belly. We have each other. We have this place. We have our baby coming. That's everything. Gideon kissed her forehead. Then we let it go. They watched the letter burn. Ashes floating up the chimney, and with it, the last hold Nathaniel had on her life. He was gone, and Lorelei was free. September, a year since she'd arrived, they celebrated quietly. A special dinner. Apple pie from the fruit they'd preserved a year ago. I was terrified, Lorelei said, stepping off that stagecoach, meeting you. Not knowing if I'd survive, and now, I can't imagine being anywhere else. She stood. Came around the table. Sat on Gideon's lap, her belly was showing now. Round and full under her dress. You saved my life, you saved mine. How? I was dead inside. Going through motions. Working. Surviving. Not living. He placed both hands on her belly. You made me live again. The baby kicked. Strong. Definite. Gideon's eyes widened. Was that the baby? Yes. He pressed closer. Feeling another kick? Hello, little one. I'm your father. And I love you already. Lorelei's eyes filled. You're going to be such a good father. I hope so. October brought the first snow. Early. Heavy. Lorelei was 6 months along now. Moving slower. Tiring easier. But happy, so happy. She sat by the fire one evening, knitting a tiny blanket. Gideon carved a cradle. Domestic. Peaceful. Perfect. What should we name the baby? Lorelei asked. I don't know. If it's a girl, maybe? Sarah? Gideon's hand stilled. You'd do that? It's important to you. And I'd like our daughter to have a strong name. A name that means something. What if it's a boy? Lorelei thought. James? After my father? James Blackwood. I like that. Or Sarah Blackwood. Either way. They'll be loved, so loved. The wolf. Now fully healed. Lay by the fire. Content. Domesticated. We have a strange family, Lorelei observed. The best kind. November. A visitor, Mrs. Bradford, rode up. Unexpected. Face serious. Gideon. Lorelei. There's kind of news. There's a woman. Came in on yesterday's stage, asking about you. About mail-order brides. About how it worked out. Lorelei tensed. Who is she? Says her name is Clara. Clara. From Ohio. She's running. Like you were. Mrs. Bradford looked at Lorelei. She saw you in town once. Saw how content you looked. She wants to know if there are more men like Gideon. Lorelei stood, awkward with her belly. Is she safe? For now. Staying at the boarding house. But she's scared. Jumpy. Glasses on her wrists. Lorelei looked at Gideon. We have to help her. How? I don't know. But we can't leave her alone. Not when we know what it's like. Gideon nodded. Bring her here. Tomorrow, we'll talk, see what we can do. Sarah Mitchell arrived the next day, young. Maybe 20. Dark hair, haunted eyes. She looked exactly like Lorelei had a year ago. Mrs. Blackwood? Please, call me Lorelei. Clara's eyes went to Lorelei's belly. You're with child. Yes, due in February. And he, her husband. He's kind? Very. Gideon appeared in the doorway. Clara flinched. It's okay, Lorelei said quickly. This is Gideon. My husband, ma'am? Gideon kept his distance. Non-threatening. Mrs. Bradford said you needed help. I'm running for my husband. He hurt me. A lot. I saw the advertisement for mail-order brides. And I thought, maybe, her voice broke, maybe somewhere else would be better. Lorelei took her hand. It can be, is, but you have to be careful. Not all men are. Good. How did you know? It was? She gestured at Gideon. I didn't, not at first. I took a chance, a risk, and I was lucky. She squeezed Clara's hand. But there are good men here. Men who need wives. Who will treat you right. Can you help me find one? Lorelei looked at Gideon. He nodded. We can try. Stay with us. A few days. Meet some people. See if there's a match. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you so much. Over the next week, Clara stayed in their cabin. Slept in Lorelei's old room. Helped with chores, slowly. Relaxed. Gideon was careful around her. Gentle, patient, showing her, not telling her, that not all men were monsters. On the 5th day, they took Clara to town, introduced her to the sheriff, to Mrs. Bradford, to Thomas Reed, a widower, 40s, kind eyes, at demeanor. Lost his wife 2 years ago to illness. Raising a young daughter alone. He and carefully, slowly. And Lorelei saw something, a spark. Maybe, possibly. What do you think? She asked, later. He seems nice. He is. His wife, Mary. She was my friend, before she died. Thomas loved her deeply. Would he want someone like me? Someone damaged? You're not damaged. You're surviving. Lorelei touched her own belly a year ago. I thought I was broken beyond repair. But I wasn't. I was just waiting. For the right life, Clara nodded slowly. Maybe. Maybe I could try. December. Clara and Thomas courted slowly, respectfully. He never pushed, never demanded. Just was present. Clara bloomed, like a flower in sunlight on Christmas Eve. Thomas proposed. Honest, I know you've been hurt. I know you're scared. But I think we could build something good together. Me, you, my daughter, a family. Clara said yes. They married in January. Small ceremony. In the church. Or a lie. 8 months pregnant. Stood as witness, watching Clara. Seeing herself a year ago, how far they'd both come. After the ceremony, Clara hugged Lorelei. Thank you for showing me that there's life after. After everything, you did the hard part. Survived. You chose to keep living, so did you. They held each other. 2 women. 2 survivors. February 8/77. Late in the month, Lorelei woke to pain. Sharp, intense. Unmistakable. Gideon. He was awake instantly. Is it time? I think so. He dressed quickly. Rode to fetch Mrs. Bradford. Lorelei tried to breathe through the contractions. Tried to stay calm. But fear crept in. What if something went wrong? What if she died? What if the baby died? Mrs. Bradford arrived. Calm, efficient. How far apart? 5 minutes. Maybe less. Good. Everything progressing normally. But labor was. Hard, painful, endless. Hars blurred together. Pain and pressure and fear. Gideon held her hand. Let her squeeze until his bones ground together. You're doing great. Can't do this. You can. You are. More hours, more pain then. Finally, push. Now. One more push. Lorelei bore down, screaming, and a baby's cry. High, strong, furious. It's a boy, a healthy boy. Mrs. Bradford cleaned him quickly, wrapped him, placed him in Lorelei's arms. Your son. Lorelei stared down at the tiny face. Red, wrinkled. Perfect, James. His name is James. Gideon knelt beside the bed. Tears streaming down his face. He's perfect. He is. The baby opened his eyes. Dark blue, unfocused, and Lorelei felt. Complete this. This was what she'd survived for this moment. This life. This love.